Welcome everyone to Flashes of Insight. We're discussing women's ministry in the church as priest, prophet and leader. I'm here with Jo Ayres, lecturer and publisher from Auckland, New Zealand, Kate Bell, cathedral catechist from Palmerston North, New Zealand, Sister Elizabeth Young, RSM, pastoral worker and school chaplain from Wilcannia Forbes in Australia, and Fiona Dybel, liturgy and faith formation officer for the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference in the Office for Social Justice, Ecology and Peace, and based in Melbourne. So, Kate, I'd like to come to you. Women are also anointed priest, prophet, and leader, kingly, or are they diaconal? But they're anointed in baptism. Do you think any of the recent liturgical ministries that are now open to women are going to help push the role of women forward in the church, ministerially especially?
I suppose that anything that authenticates and makes visible, that celebrates and validates, has to help in some way. It seriously has to help. I suppose I see the danger is the people of God, the baptized, becoming further disenfranchised from ministry by there being another layer and another, process like that. But yeah, I think that it's really helpful that Canon Law has been changed so that women are allowed into ministry and are not, because of their womenness, aren't able to do certain ministries, and that's got to be helpful.
Yeah, what about the thing of being anointed priest, prophet and king?
Do you mean priest, prophet and royal, Jo? Yeah, that might be my way of phrasing that, or immediately going to priest, prophet and servant. That makes sense to me.
Why is that?
Why? Because I suppose I see that anointing, servant is about ministry. I don't think anything kingly has anything to do with ministry at all.
Okay.
It doesn't work for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else wanting to make? Fiona?
I was really heartened when I read the Motu Proprio. I thought that was just really making something very clear. And I was glad that Francis, because, it was close to his heart. That's what Motu Proprios are. They say, this is something I'm concerned about and I want to make good on. And so making that clear that women's baptismal priesthood is really there in that way, so that we can take up that office. And people have been doing it for a long time, but in some dioceses, women weren't allowed to, and that was the reality. And so I think the welcome clarity that Francis has provided about that has been really fantastic. And it'll take us forward, I think, too, because these things matter. They matter because in some places they're misrepresented, or it's used as another way that some people can say, well, women, don't fit those particular ministries. And we know that they do, because they have the gifts to fulfill them. So I don't see any problem in that. And I think it moves us closer. I think it's an important step to just really saying, look, if you have a gift, we want to actually encourage you to use it in the service of the church. Yeah.
Do you think it moves us closer to the social construct that gives the church a little bit more street cred?
I think our street cred, is about how we live and about how we serve. I think Kate's on the money there. It's about service. And we're talking about kingly. We know that paradox is at the heart of the gospel too. So the kingdom is very different to the one that's here. We know that our kingdom is about getting out there and getting the smell of the sheep on us. So I think it's how you perform and carry yourself within those ministries in the church. So I'm a music minister, And what I do is facilitate the song of the assembly. It's not to draw attention to myself or to imbalance the liturgy with music, but to make sure that the voice of the people is heard. So when somebody's actually proclaiming the gospel, they need to prepare for that. So there's responsibilities around that. It's not just a prize that you go, yay, you know, now I'm a reader. It's like, have I actually prepared myself for that ministry? Am I actually standing up there and proclaiming the word and offering that to people? Because it's an awesome ministry to speak those words. So I think if people take it seriously and if the formation is offered to them so that they can step into those ministries with confidence, we're doing the whole church a service.
Thank you. Joe, what about you, coming from Auckland? What do you reckon?
I was going to say one thing, but Fiona's nearly persuaded me that the institution of acolyte and reader is a good thing. Whereas to me, it looks more like crumbs from the table and another layer of clericalism. I think the rubber really hits the road with the relationship to the liturgy and with the celebrating clergymen. And that it's, if lay people can prepare the liturgy in a meaningful way with the priest celebrant and take part in it, then we're really going to see, what's the right word, celebrated, played out, demonstrated in our liturgy, adult responsibility for community prayer.
Don't we already see that though? I mean,
well, how many people sit down with the celebrant or the homilist and read the readings with him and say, I think the issues for our parish and those unmarried mothers and these overworked people are here in this gospel, and this is what needs to be talked and prayed about. How often does that happen?
I take your point. Thank you. I'm going to go on.
Real power sharing.
Yeah.
Allowing people to take their rightful responsibility as adults to shape the prayer of the community.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, do you have any comment going on from that as a liturgist yourself?
Yeah, so I think those naming of those roles, as Kate mentioned, is important and powerful. We talk in terms of lay ecclesial, lay pastoral ministry, of all the baptized being disciples, following Jesus as priest, prophet, and royal person. So that's something innate in our baptism. And some people called to ministry, which has an aspect of leadership and has an aspect of formality and public on behalf of the community. And that's something that's starting to be recognised. And those in a ministry role have a role to foster the roles of everyone else in their life as a Christian. So Lumen Gentium talks about the noble duty of the clergy to shepherd the faithful, to recognise their ministries and charisms, so that all, according to their proper roles, may cooperate in this common undertaking with one mind. Mm. So that's from the Vatican II that we still are growing into. But personally, I've felt called to liturgical leadership, preaching and pastoral ministry from quite a young age, and especially on the margins with people in marginal situations. And I've found it's been a great blessing, a great grace to have that public profession as a sister of mercy. And that's not a sacrament, doesn't give me any liturgical faculties, but it does for all of us, I feel, give us opportunity and credibility to minister that many women and men don't have, that don't have the equivalent, something that's formal, something that's public. And I think having those ordinations, installations, commissionings make a real difference, because many people won't step into something unless they're actually asked to do that and they feel that that is authorised. And we want things to happen in that way so that we're all working together to build the church up together.
Okay, thank you. So Kate, I'm going to come back to you. You started this conversation off. If the cathedral parish were to bring forward the institution of acolyte, lector and catechist, would you support that? Do you see that as a value going forward?
I think we've done that in the past, Joe. We have instituted and installed readers and Eucharistic ministers. There's been less formality with those involved catechetically. Through you think of our marriage preparation people, that perfect for that sort of stuff. Again, it's got the really positive things about it, but it's got the ability to also disenfranchise and say that ministry only happens when it's official and when it's recognised, but actually it's the job of all of us to be involved in our baptismal call and discipleship. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you all. This is Flashes of Insight.